Manny Pacquiao is sitting pretty in the sport of boxing. The 8th division and current WBA welterweight world champion is clearly in a seat of the driver in his quest for undisputed champion at welterweight. Let's talk about it. What's good, YouTube? It's Stormybman, and I'm back with another video editorial. Before we get started, I'd like to say shout out to the LDBC, the Lions Den boxing community, and Liberated Perspective, the third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. The title of this editorial is The Road to Undisputed. And here we are featuring a story that's a roundabout tale of what's going on in the welterweight division amongst the champions who have yet to face off for undisputed. Centering around Manny Pacquiao, who is 62, 7, and 2. with 39 KOs. Manny, who is an 8th division titleist in the sport, is now the elder statesman in the sport in his division, where he has just had a birthday and he is 42 years old. The thing about Manny, he has probably seen better days in the sport. And you have to admit, his best is behind him. Coming off of his most recent win, which was a July 2019 victory over Keith Thurman for then Keith's WBA Super World Welterweight title. He won a split decision in a 12-round fight that saw Thurman taste the canvas in the first round. Manny startled many a boxing fan and follower with this victory over Thurman, but I wasn't shocked by this accomplishment. Going into that fight, I had stated Manny had faced better quality opposition than Thurman has had in any of his professional fights. And Manny has lost to and defeated better fighters than Thurman had even faced. I thought that Thurman's lack of activity and not facing quality opposition such as Earl the Truth Spence, who was on his way toward a fight with Keith Thurman, and Thurman totally avoided that opportunity. Now, with Manny's victory over Thurman, it has been a year and a half since he's last been in the ring. It has also been a year and a half since Thurman was last in the ring, since they last fought one another. But in this time, we have seen on the rise, we've seen Earl Spence go ahead and unify the titles with a fight that he had that took place against Showtime Shawn Porter. In his match against Showtime Shawn Porter, Spence proved to be the superior fighter by scoring a knockdown in a very closely contested match that saw the two men competing at the highest level of the sport. I talked about this fight being so good that it should have a rematch. In September of 2019, the two combatants put it on the line and they went life and death. The knockdown being what separate the two gentlemen. And Earl deservedly got the decision, but I wouldn't have been surprised to see a draw. And I do believe that they should face one another one more time down the road. In the meanwhile, meantime, Terrence Bud Crawford, who is the WBO World Welterweight titleist, has been consistent in keeping his title, scoring victory after victory, but hasn't stepped up to the elite class of the division as of yet. This could be for a number of reasons. Whether it's the network that he's signed with and promoter, which is Bob Arum and ESPN, whether it's the fact that he is reluctant to face anyone except for who may hold the other titles, which right now is Earl Spence, who holds the IBF and WBC welterweight titles, and Manny, who holds the WBA welterweight title. Bud is in a situation where he's going to have to make a decision. Does he really want to dare to be great, or does he want to wait around for a payday and legacy fight that may win or lose, ensure that he can go out the sport having been handsomely paid? After capturing Undisputed at welterweight at junior welterweight, at junior welterweight in August of 2017, and then moving up in June of 2018 against Jeff Horn and taking the WBO title from Horn, who had earlier taken it from Pacquiao in a closely fought fight that saw Horn get a hometown decision against Manny. Crawford has been consistent in being victorious. Each of his victories at welterweight have been by KO or TKO, which includes the list of Horn, Benavidez, Khan, Kavaliauskas, and most recently, in November of 2020, a victory over Kell Brook. Now, Brook was a great measuring stick for Crawford because he was a legitimate former champion who had size and strength at the weight. But due to injuries he had suffered over orbital bones in his most recent fights, losses to Triple G and also to Earl Spence Jr., people were really concerned about what Brook might have left. But this is the thing for Crawford. Just go and fight someone in the division who has reputable record and consideration from fanfare, defeat that person, and go about securing a place where you can either fight Earl or Manny within the next couple of fights. But the thing is, these three gentlemen need one another. But more than that, Manny needs to just give up the WBA title and retire from the sport. By the time he steps into the ring to face whoever, whenever, within 2021, Manny will be going on 43 years of age. And that's quite long in the tooth for someone, especially like he, who has come up from smaller weights and has maxed out at welterweight. He has been stopped, literally KO'd in the past. And you don't want to see guys like that go out in that type of manner after they've given so much to the sport. These men are younger, primed lions who are ready to face the likes of one another, as they should. So vacating the title and moving on from the sport seems to be what I would advise for Manny Pacquiao, but I'm not his advisor. In the meantime, Earl Spence Jr. may want to seek a rematch against Showtime Shawn Porter since he's his #1 contender. Also, Showtime Shawn Porter is the #1 contender for Bud Crawford's WBO title. Either man should take Shawn next in their fight. It depends on who's going to fight next. It would behoove Crawford to do this because it would really accentuate his position in the sport and really build toward the eventual showdown between he and Earl Spence Jr. The thing about these guys is if they are hanging their hats on what's going to happen to Manny Pacquiao, somebody is going to be extremely disappointed. Pacquiao is no longer the fighter he used to be, and he does generate nice income. But at this stage, when you face one another, you're going to make far more than what you would have made fighting Pacquiao because you are the best of the sport. He is a name in the sport, and his name is already written in the Hall of Fame. It's time for you men to get to it yourselves. Earl Spence Jr., with your victory recently over Danny Garcia, you proved that you're back and you're ready to take the next step, whatever it may be in your weight class. There are options on the table for you to move up to higher divisions, and there are fighters out there who may be awaiting your arrival. For Bud Crawford, your record of 37-0 with 28 KOs right now has been safe at welterweight, but it's time to step up and face the other guys. Whether it's Keith Thurman, whether it's Showtime Shawn Porter, or even Danny Garcia, who you have a history with in the amateurs. It's time to do something, and the fans want to see it. Don't deny the fans, don't deny the sport, don't deny your legacy. This is what you should be fighting for, and understand, Manny has more than established his. I know that he's been avoiding a fight potentially with Crawford for about the past 6 years, and your own promoter has come out and said he blocked that fight. So the ball is in Bud Crawford's court, who has an expiring contract in 2021 with Bob Arum and ESPN. What does he want to do? Does he want to put himself in a position to fight the guys that he needs to fight? Or will he just look to continue to be pulled along in the horse and cart carriage that he has been experiencing over the past couple of years? It's up to Bud to make that decision. Manny is going on to the Hall of Fame. Earl is going on to other weight classes. The conundrum that exists here is the fact that all men have a different path ahead of them, and they just need to make the decision if they want their paths to cross. It's something that boxing fans are very impatient and growing even more impatient. What are your thoughts about this? With a record of 27-0 and 21 KOs now, Earl seems to be the hottest ticket in town, and we want to see far more from him. Let's discuss it more. This is Stormybman. That's all I have for you at this time. Leave comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. And as we move forward, we pray that everyone remains safe and look to the future. Peace.